and welcome back to the Scorchfarer series. Today we're going to be going through chapter 3. So without further ado, let's just get straight into it. Back in the city, the group followed the path down the river. They weren't quite sure which bridge they were looking for, so they allowed Wee and Vin to guide them. The city had become much more active during that time of day. There were kids and foxes running everywhere. This activity increased as they came close to the so-called Bird View Bazaar. "There are so many foxes," Mickey said, right after a pair of them ran past her. "They aren't so different from you and we," Mickey said. With the eyeball purple. Or the sparkle. Some Ashen Tail. Oh, it's Ashen Tail Pastry Shop. I love everything they make. Let's buy something. Their cookies can be addicting. I don't usually eat sweet stuff, but I can appreciate a good cake every once in a while. Uncle Vin always brought me a box of their stuff whenever he came to visit me at Lupomont. I carefully rationed them so they lasted as long as possible. Those ain't cheap. All of the sugarcane used in Olam from the video is from the video. It's the only place with the right conditions to grow. Isn't the video a protected zone? Why would there be crops? Sometimes necessity overcomes regulations. It's either that or use the nectar archipelago. And let me tell you, our bug cousins wouldn't be happy about that. Even if you're a chrysalidian, that's such an insertive thing to say. What do you want me to call them? They're a tribe, the Balkamos, and they are as smart as any other race. Don't just call them bugs. Maybe the Balkamos would accept it if they open an Ashentail store in Nita, no? Okay, no. I know it's kind of a weird thing to just say, but I like to think that Zhao acts like a mother to all of us. We all come from the same common ancestor. She created this city for us. Everyone is welcome. Foxtrot is like a sanctuary where foxes can live peacefully, Yuki explained. You could say we survived thanks to her, Lee said, since she was listening to the conversation. That has always bothered me, how much difference there is between the foxes and foxbeasts like you, Mickey asked. Quite a few, but we do enjoy the same things as them, we explained. Finn had already forgotten about their task at hand, having reached the Birdview Bazaar long before them. He was looking for something to eat. Mickey reached for Yuki's ears, rubbing them. Yuki blushed quite a bit upon feeling the girl touch his ears like that. Where should we go now? Yuki asked, trying to change the subject. We waved her hand at them, signaling them to follow her. After walking for a few seconds, they reached the end of the bazaar. The largest bridge of the city was right in front of them. It should be around here, we said. The group stepped onto Foxtrot's main bridge. Yuki immediately started looking over the edge, searching for anything unusual. The old man said, "Under the bridge," Yuki said as he watched the running water below. The bridge wasn't as busy as one would expect of the largest city. There was a set of houses on either side of the bridge, which gave Yuki an idea of which side they should be interested in. Yuki started walking to the other side of the bridge, being followed closely by Wee and Mickey. After he had made up his mind on what to do exactly, he gave both of them a smile before running towards the railing. of the bridge and jumping over it into the water. What is he doing? The water must be freezing, we said out loud, and as she saw Yuki jump off. That magic. None of them heard the splash of water, so it gave Wee a quick idea of what just happened. Mickey quickly made her way to the railing to look down below. Yuki had frozen the water right before landing on it. The water current started to move over the newly created ice, which has landed on the sides of the bridge. Yuki Haru, don't scare me like that. On the other hand, that's fantastic, Mickey said, looking over the railing at him. That's quite advanced for a new recruit. Or maybe I'm just being too pessimistic, Wee said. I'm sorry, Wee. He sometimes has some weird good ideas, and his elemental skills are impeccable. He wouldn't take a risk like that without knowing he could do it, or at least that is what I think, Mickey said. Your boyfriend is kinda crazy, you know that, said Wee. Yuki started looking around under the bridge, stepping onto the concrete ledge under it. Flower shop. That flower shop brings back a lot of memories. Are you from here? I mean, were you born in Foxtrot? Mm-hmm. My family's ancestors settled in Foxtrot a few hundred years ago. There is no way to determine where they came from exactly, since most records have been lost in the fire rain. What about your current family? Sorry, I shouldn't have asked. Don't worry, I don't mind. I have several relatives around the city, but I don't spend a lot of time with them. My fault for neglecting them during the days of Foxtrot's commander. It's one of the most demanding jobs out there. Maybe you could reconcile with them if you explain your situation. I wish people were that easy. It kind of is, but we aren't a couple. Zhao made sure we said that out loud not long ago, Mickey said. We noticed a smile on Mickey's face, a very forced one. There could be a lot of problems if we were. Were you like this when you were with my uncle? Mickey asked without completing her question. She wasn't sure if it was a conversation we wanted to have. Mickey tried to calculate the distance between the edge of the bridge and the water, wondering if the ice that Yuki created could support her weight, just in case things got awkward with Wee. Yeet. Vin and me, we never were a terraformation team like you, Wee said. She leaned against the railing. We weren't even a good couple to begin with. I think we realized that too late, Wee said. She watched Yuki disappear from her sight a few moments later by moving under the bridge. I thought you two were a team. I really hope Yuki and I can be recognized. We're here to help. I know we can. But some recognition would be nice, said Mickey. We stared at Mickey. She felt guilty almost immediately. Sorry for suggesting that he was your boyfriend. A lot of people didn't really care about those rules back when I was working as a Terramagus, said Wee. She fixed her hair a bit. The wind had started to become quite strong. Aren't you scared? I've seen the wall of fire many times. It isn't like they describe it. Further away from the ash plains where the Crimson Ring looms, it's one of the scarier places I've ever been to. I was part of a team for a brief period of time, and I would say that I have had enough of that job in just a few months, we said. Mickey sighed. We have a view of one of the rings at the academy. It's quite beautiful. I've seen illustrations as well. Even if it sounds scary, I hope to see those planes one day. That's why we're here, Mickey said. I had never heard someone say that they look forward to doing that job, we responded with a slightly amused expression. This world that we inherit is too sad just to focus on the bad things. You can always walk away from it and get into another profession if you don't like it. It isn't your fault that the world is the way it is right now, we said, moving her hand through Mickey's hair. Mickey closed her eyes tight as she felt her hair being pulled back. I think there is a misunderstanding. I don't think we have ever felt forced to do this job. We just really hope to be of use someday. Maybe for someone who has been there themselves it sounds naive, Mickey said. It doesn't. However, I think you should experience it for yourself, and then make your decision. You shouldn't force yourself to continue if you don't want to, Lee said. Just be careful. She was quite worried about Mickey. Even if Finn and her weren't married anymore, she still saw Mickey as her niece-in-law. Meanwhile, Yuki had started examining the brick wall under the bridge. He noticed that some of the bricks on the wall had a few strange inscriptions engraved on them. After analyzing the inscriptions in detail, he found one that looked like a doorbell. A magical circuit had been laid on the bricks. Yukiharu put his finger on the inscription and fed it with some of his own magical energy. The circuit activated almost immediately, causing the wall to slowly disappear, brick by brick. This revealed a large metallic door on the other side. Yukiharu quickly walked on top of the frozen water he created, which had started to break apart because of the constant water flow. I found something, come! Yuki said from below. This alerted Mickey and Hui almost immediately. The pair looked at Yuki, who quickly moved under the bridge once more. Hui noticed that the ice Yuki created wouldn't resist her weight. She jumped over the railing a moment later, her eyes turning a deep silver as she dropped down. Using the same type of magic technique as Yuki, the woman froze the water before she reached the bottom. Unfortunately for her, her heels got stuck in the ice as soon as she landed. Ah! Hui screamed in a cute voice as the ice under her heels broke off, making her lose footing. Hui fell forward but extended her arms to protect her face just in time. Mickey jumped off the railing after noticing how much more solid ice there was now. Are you okay? Mickey asked. Once she got used to walking on the ice, she made her way to Hui and helped her back onto her feet. I hate these shoes, Hui said. She felt how her clothes were partially wet because of the ice. Finn looked over the railing, noticed Hui right away. Did you get hurt? Finn asked. Don't talk to me, Hui said with a dignified expression. Mickey looked around until she spotted Yuki and quickly joined him under the bridge. What did you find? Mickey asked once she got close to him. Yuki was in the middle of examining the metallic door. Before Yuki could say anything, they heard the footsteps of someone on the other side of the door. At least they realized we're here, Yuki said. The peeping hole of the door slid open after whoever was on the other side removed a lock from it. Do you have any business with me? Asked the man on the other side. It was too dark to distinguish any of their facial features. We are looking for Amber, Yuki said. That would be me. How exactly did you find me? The man asked. An old man from Magmatrine told us that you moved here after your house was destroyed many years ago, Yuki said. There was a moment of silence. It's been a year since anybody has come through this entrance, Amber said. We approached the pair and stood behind them. She squinted, trying to look at the face of the man through the peeping hole, to no avail. There is another? Yuki asked, question that was completely ignored by the man. Aren't you a little too young to buy weapons? Amber asked. To be quite honest, we aren't here to buy weapons. We just want to ask about something that you may have, Mickey explained. There was a long silence before the man would say anything else. Help me pull this door. It's quite rusty. It hasn't been opened in quite some time, said the man. He began removing the locks from the other side. So you have been living here under the bridge all these years? Yuki asked, pulling the door along with Mickey. Are you suggesting I'm some kind of bridge troll? Said the man, as the door opened up. On the other side of the door they found a rather skinny man with a pair of circle spectacles. He had an apron on. Judging by the suit of his leather gloves, he probably had been busy before they arrived. It's like a metalsmith outfit. Probably making all the weapons and stuff. To everyone's surprise, Vin arrived a moment later with a nonchalantly stroll, causing Amber to stop in his tracks for a moment before totally freaking out. "An official? Come on, it's been so many years. I didn't do anything illegal anymore," said the man out loud. Mickey and Yuki stared at the man with a confused expression. It slowly started to make sense that there might be a very good reason to have an entrance under a bridge. "It wasn't even that illegal," Amber said, while trying to close the door. Vin looked at the man, quite amused by his reaction. He wasn't allowed to make an arrest since they weren't in the Foxtrot Tower, but he played along as he found it funny. Yuki tried his best to prevent Amber from completely closing the door. We aren't trying to arrest you. We just want something from you," Yuki shouted, and along with Mickey tried to keep the door from being closed. Vin moved close and with a quick and strong movement opened the door without much trouble. "A few minutes of your time, and I might not remember what I saw today," Vin said, trying to strike a deal with the man. After noticing how easy it was for Vin to simply pull the door, Amber gave up. Alright. Then why are you here again?" Amber said, while raising both hands. Mickey cleared her throat before speaking up. "Actually, we're here on an errand. A book. We went to the city library to look for it, but the book's registry says that the last person that took it was from your old address 7 years ago," Mickey explained. Yuki nodded twice. "The Frog and the Silverware, that's the name of the book," Yuki said. "Are you here to collect my debt? Because I'm not sure I can pay 7 years of late fees," Amber said, with an uneasy expression on his face. "Nothing like that. We want to retrieve it. The original owner lent it to the library many years before the library had copies of it," Yuki explained. We remained silent on the back. She was quite puzzled about who the man really was. She wanted to ask something, but decided to let Mickey and Yuki take care of the situation for now. "I used to get a lot of books to read well, that isn't important. I always forgot to return them. The creature in the library was quite generous with the amount of time you could keep them," Amber explained. "After we lost our house, reading novels wasn't that much of a priority anymore. We lost most of them," Amber said. The way the man spoke wasn't very reassuring for Mickey or Yuki. It took a moment before Amber would take action. "Would you want to come in? I can fetch every book that we saved out of our storage," Amber said, with a gentler expression than before. Yuki wasn't so sure about the offer, however, it was we who accepted instead. "I'm freezing out here. My spell will keep expanding if I stay close to where I cast it," we said, making her way inside until she spoke. Mickey and Yuki looked at each other for a moment before following her inside a moment later. Once inside, Vin closed the large metallic door behind them. The bricks slowly reappeared on their own once the door was completely shut. We has been added to your journal. The long, narrow corridor took them up a flight of stairs. Upon reaching the end, they found themselves in what looked like a workshop. They noticed that the room was filled with several mundane items, making it clear that they were multi-purpose for that room. At the back of the room was a glass case that held several types of guns. They were in perfect condition, as if they were part of a collection. There was a gun split into several pieces on top of the workshop table. The man probably had been working on it before they arrived. The group noticed a lot of small rocks decorating the room, as well as jars and mysterious powder inside. "So this is your shop." "So is this your shop?" Mickey asked. She sat down on a large couch, placed against the wall. For a moment I thought it would look shadier. Uncle Vin. "It is illegal to sell weapons in Foxtrot?" Mickey asked. It's legal as long as you have the correct permits. After the fire reign, the weapons market became strictly regulated. All of them had to be registered, magic or not, Finn explained. He looked particularly interested in some of the weapons. Yuki sat down next to Mickey. That sounds impossible to oversee, Yuki asked. It is. But it's better than nothing. Some weapons have very complex internal machinery. They operate with magical reagents that became very scarce. Now that magical users are uncommon, a criminal with a magic weapon could wreak havoc, Vin began to explain. The government decided to tie every existing weapon with an owner, so that if the weapon was stolen and used to kill someone, both the criminal and the owner of the weapon would get punishment. In case the owner couldn't prove that it was stolen, of course, Vinton continued. That encouraged the people that own weapons to properly secure them, Vin explained. We sat down on the sofa chair on the other side of the room. The chair squeaked. As soon as she sat on it, she blushed almost immediately, but said nothing to try to draw attention to herself. Your workshop looks somewhat improvised. When I bought this house, this used to be a living room. But now that I think about it, it still is, huh? Should I also consider child endangerment in your potential criminal charges? Jeez. Come on, I let you ransack my house without a search warrant. Cut me a break. Whoa, there's all kinds of guns in here. Are they loaded? Can I try one? Not a chance. If you get hurt, it's going to be my fault. And your uncle will probably shoot me right after. Indeed. Aww. All sparks are found, but you have a feeling that's not all of them? I haven't seen that one before. Curious and curious though. I see, Yuki said. So Mr. Amber, why were you so nervous a moment ago? Were you really doing something illegal here, he asked. Amber was looking through several drawers behind his desk. I used to work in Foxtrot Tower internal workshops as an armorer. I was in charge of maintenance, design and creation of weapons, Amber said. He moved the belongings inside of the drawer with his hand, looking for something. Sometimes when weapons broke down and were deemed irreparable, the pieces were sent to be destroyed. I had recently become a father and was in dire need to provide for my family. We were going through some tough times. I would usually pocket these pieces or magical rocks that were scratched, Amber continued. The kind of pieces and reagents that wouldn't pass the quality standards of the Foxtrot officials. Believe it or not, there are people that used those pieces for a non-criminal reason. Not every single one of those were used to make weapons, Amber said in a defensive tone. If properly cleaned and fixed, they could be used in all sorts of other tools, Amber said, closing the drawers he was rifling through. He looked directly at Vin, who was standing near the entrance and had gone through a moment ago. In the end, I stole things that were going to be discarded anyway. I even got accused of selling functional weapons to civilians. Damn them, Amber said. He was clearly angry about what got said. There was no real way to tell if the story was true. If you did sell functional weapons without a registry, they'll probably point fingers at you if anyone got hurt with using them. Those rules exist to protect people from doing something stupid, Vin said. I can understand the sentiment, but I'm not sure it's worth putting your family in danger for a bit of extra money, Yui said. She was using a small towel she found to dry herself after her outfit got slightly wet when she fell in the ice. I know it wasn't the right thing to do. I'm not crazy though. Like I said, I never used those materials to build weapons. My plan was to support my family and to set up my own business. I wanted to retire from any job related to the government or the Zhao administration. I never liked the way they did things, Amber said. I got caught eventually and they said exactly those words you mentioned. I was fired but not charged, since they thought it was my first time doing so, Amber explained with some regret in his voice. It was quite a noble purpose then. I wouldn't say noble. It was a necessity. Without going into detail, let's just say I hope you're never in the same position I was, Amber said. Currently, I just repair the weapons of people that have a permit. What about your family? We asked with curiosity. Ah, my little boy. He's 8 years old now. Very handsome, just like his father. His dream is to enlist in an academy one day. As much as I would like him to stay away from that world, well, he'll have a much better chance out there than me if he does become a magus, Amber said. I'll do my best to get him there when he becomes of age, Amber explained. He finally found what he was looking for, a small key inside of a box on the corner of one of the drawers. If he shows promise, then they'll certainly accept him, Yuki said. We do need all the help we can get. There is a severe lack of Terrameg, Vin said before being interrupted by Hui. Don't stop, please, Hui said. She looked quite annoyed by Vin's words. Based on everything Amber had said so far, she was thinking that maybe his wife wasn't with them anymore. We felt that the idea of putting his son in danger by becoming a Terramagus is something that should only be discussed privately, without anyone trying to indoctrinate them. Vin only looked away after he realized why we told him to shut up. He rubbed the back of his neck, apologizing silently by keeping his eyes off Amber. Don't worry about it. Now give me a moment. I'll go get the books in the storage room. Wait here, please, Amber said before he made his way upstairs. Make yourselves comfortable. There are some blankets under the couch pillows, said Amber before disappearing. Mickey stood up and grabbed 2 of the blankets, handing over one to Wee and keeping the other for himself. Wee thanked Mickey and covered herself right away. It sounds like he hasn't been up there in a while, Mickey said. She covered herself and Yuki while sitting relatively close to him. Yuki took his chance to grab Mickey's hand. This year's winter feels a bit colder than usual, Yuki said with an awkward smile towards Mickey. The girl smiled back before squeezing his hand. Vin started walking around the room, checking the weapons mounted on the walls, as well as the tools that Amber used to repair them. Uncle Vin, what's your weapon of choice? Mickey asked. We received some guidance at the academy on getting to practice with a weapon, but it wasn't a priority at all. Vin looked over his shoulder at Mickey. He was distracted for a moment by the sounds coming from upstairs. Whips, Vin said with a confident smile. We tried to look away for a moment, closing her eyes. She was particularly uncomfortable with that answer. We never got to use a whip at the academy. Do you have any that we could use? Maybe I'm a natural with it. I don't even know, Mickey said. She imagined using a whip for even the most mundane stuff. I suppose I could give you a beginner lesson when we get back to the tower, Vin said while rubbing his chin. The more I learn, the better, Mickey said, quite excited. Amber went down the stairs and talked to Vin. As soon as she was within sight, Uncle Vin, could you help me with these boxes? They're full of books, Amber said, with a slightly mocking tone in his voice. I can't see properly, so I'll light it up for you. As long as you don't stab me from behind, Vin said, making his way towards the stairs. The dust upstairs had better chances of killing you than me, Amber said, trying to ease the tension between them. The pair promptly disappeared to the second floor. We sighed deeply. What am I even doing here? She murmured to herself. A few moments later, Vin and Amber came back downstairs with 3 boxes. They placed them down on the floor close to where Mickey and Yuki were. I think there were around 10 or 12 in each. I seriously thought there would be less, Amber said. He stayed in a squatting position next to the box he brought and started opening it, and then he looked at Vin. Uncle Vin, are you going to let the crime go unnoticed as well? I promise I'll return them by the end of the week, Amber said, smiling at him. Do you really have to call me Uncle Vin? Uncle? Vin asked. Yes. Yes. Oh no, I missed the eyeball. That's okay. Amber smirked upon hearing that, receiving no answer whatsoever. Mickey sat down on the floor and started looking through the books. There aren't that many, but it could be here, Mickey said. Yuki got on his knees close to Mickey. Yuki got on his knees close to Mickey and started looking through the box contents as well. Gun? What's a gun doing in there? Whoa, this is a really pretty... That thing, that's a very old friend to me. To be honest, I forgot it was there. I should give it maintenance later. It looks much older than the rest. Is that a magical weapon? Nah, it shoots regular musket ammunition. If you use magic-infused ammunition, it'll probably break apart in a few shots. Oh, can I shoot it? Without proper maintenance, it will blow up your hand, so that's a no. Aw, sad. The light. Magua. Hey, I read this book when I was very young. What's it about? It's a speculative novel about what would have happened if nobody had survived the fire rain. Nobody had survived? Isn't that a bit too dark for a young fox to be reading? Actually, I found it more fascinating than scary. Amalgua was a name of both continents as a refined entity a few million of years after the flames had cooled down and the life had started to appear on the planet once more. Like new plants and animals? Are they cute? Would you call giant fire-spitting slugs cute? Probably not. Divination sphere. Why would you even have a toy like this? What do you mean? It's a crystal ball. Divination is a fraud. The past is malleable because of how time works. The future is much more complex than that. Yeah, I know, but it's cute, isn't it? If you would touch it, well, I don't know how, but it would magically glows. My wife loved to use it to play with our son. He always amazed me at how much she would always correctly guess his next dinner. Even though he always ate the same thing. I don't have the heart to throw it away. It brings back a lot of happy memories. I apologize. Well, better start searching then, said Yuki. He grabbed the book right under the one that Mickey took. A soothing silence filled the room while Mickey and Yuki searched through the boxes. Not 2 minutes after they began, we stood up. Mr. Amber, if it isn't too much trouble, could I use your bathroom? We said. Amber bit his lower lip, trying to come up with an excuse. The bathroom is only for clients, but he started to slowly approach the only other entrance to the room. Give me 5 minutes, he said before rushing out. We blinked twice, perplexed at how fast the man disappeared. I think that confirms he doesn't have many clients, we said. She moved closer to where Mickey and Yuki were, watching them both look through the box's contents. A particular book grabbed the attention of both. Axtiop Calls. They both stared at it for a moment. What is this, Yuki? Is that book calling you? Mickey said. She grabbed the book and handed it over to him. Have you seen it before? Maybe a hunch? It's the only book that has this weird border decorating it. It sticks out like a sore thumb, Yuki said, and he took the book in both hands. He frowned a bit before opening it. They were greeted with an illustration on the first page. It was a picture of a frog inside of a cup with a stream of water from an out-of-frame source that was filling said cup. The name of the book was right under the illustration, The Frog and the Silverware. "We found it," Mickey said out loud after clapping her and keeping her hands together. Why is the name on the cover different though? If I remember correctly, it's the one of those fairy tales with a weird and cruel conclusion. I don't know what you're supposed to learn from the whole thing, but if I don't remember it, it probably wasn't that good of a moral advice, we said. Something strange happened the moment Yuki started to browse through the book's pages. As soon as he got to a page with text, he noticed that the text simply vanished a second later. Yuki felt how some extra weight had been added to the book. "There's something strange about this book," Yuki said. "Every page is suddenly blank." They noticed 2 pairs of frog prints appeared over the blank page they were looking at. "A frog's footprints? What's with that?" Mickey asked. These footprints started moving across the book as if it was some kind of magical ink. Once they reached the top of the book, they suddenly disappeared. "It jumped!" Yuki screamed. Not even a second after the frog jumped, the page was filled with text. It was an introduction to Scorchfarer. "Huh?" Mickey and Yuki screamed. "It even feels lighter," Yuki said out loud. As he waved the book around, he noticed that the golden motif that decorated the cover of the book had disappeared. Hui and Vin looked at the situation with an amused stare. "There was a frog, we saw it, and then it jumped," Mickey said. They both looked down at the box, noticing how one of the books was slightly opening itself, before closing just as quickly. The golden decorations appeared on the cover of the book called April. "I think I understand," Mickey said as she grabbed the other book quickly. She kept the book closed tight just in case. "It appears that there is a living fairy tale inside of here. Do you think it will escape again if I open it?" Mickey asked. "I should put it inside my bag." She kept her eyes wide open on the book, as if it would slip from her hands if she got distracted for even 1 second. "If you take that book, could you take a few more with you?" Amber asked as he walked back inside the room. "I would be ashamed to arrive at the library with such a big pile of books." "You may use the bathroom now, lady," Amber said to Hui. We had forgotten completely that she needed to use the bathroom after what had happened. I'll be back a moment. Take care of things," we said, before disappearing into the other room. Yuki placed Axitop coals back inside the box and stared at the one Mickey was holding in her hands. "I'd like to think that nothing will happen if we don't open it," Yuki said. The book suddenly started to shake in Mickey's hands. What is it doing?" Yuki said. He put his hands on the book to help Mickey contain it. "Ah!" We ran back into the workshop screaming bloody murder. Vin quickly took a stance, ready to fight back whatever was chasing her. 3 dishes from Amber's crockery were flying around the air, following Hui, as if they had their minds of their own. "Help me!" we screamed before diving onto the floor. The dishes quickly changed their target to Mickey, but Yuki stood in front of the girl right at the last second. All 3 of them crashed against him, breaking in the process. Yuki wasn't really hurt that much from the impacts, but he did feel a bit sore right away. Amber got to Hui after just a moment. "Are you okay? My tableware doesn't usually follow people or fly around like that," Amber said, making sure that Hui wasn't hurt from the fall. "Thank you, I'm okay. I think it was just that it isn't my day." "That startled me quite a bit," Hui said. Amber could see that the woman was almost ready to start crying. Amber offered Hui his arm, which she accepted and stood up. He was very happy to see that she wasn't hurt, at least physically. The book had stopped shaking by now. "Yuki, are you okay?" Mickey screamed. "I'll live," Yuki said. He looked down at the broken dishes. Thank you. I thought for a moment you were hurt, the girl said with a faint smile, blushing a bit at the idea of Yuki protecting her without a second thought. First the invisible frog, and now they're flying dishes? What kind of book spirit thing is this? Mickey asked. Just as Mickey was done saying that, the book started to shake again. They could hear a rumbling coming from the kitchen. Oh no, 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 bad frog, Mickey screamed. Get out of here. Take the book outside, Vin said, as he ran towards the other room with Amber following closely. Mickey and Yuki followed them to find most of the drawers had started moving on their own. Leave through that door, Amber said as he placed his body against the kitchen counter to stop the drawers from opening. Vin did the same on another set of drawers. We arrived in the kitchen just to have her hand grabbed by Yuki. He pulled her out of the house with them. Ah! She yelled. Amber's been added. After leaving through the door, they found themselves on the street of Foxtrot once more. Mickey and Yuki were delighted by Foxtrot's nightlife. They just wished they weren't carrying a possessed book, so they could enjoy what they were looking at. As expected, foxes were more active during this time of day, encountering several of them on their way through the alley of Foxtrot. Let's go back to the tower. I bet Zhao knows how to make it stop, Yuki said. After running for about a minute, they slowed down because of how dark some of the streets were. The book had stopped twitching, so it felt like a good moment to slow down. It's been quite the time since I've met with my teacher, we said, following Mickey and Yuki. Drinking tea with her after all of this would be nice. Yuki and Mickey kept their walking pace up, with we lagging behind a little bit. They didn't want to be attacked once more. They went down the stairs of an alley, keeping an eye on anything unusual around them. As soon as they went down the first flight of stairs, they encountered someone very unusual. A large man in shiny armor, even taller than Vin. They almost crashed into him, but the man didn't even acknowledge them. It appears that he was looking for something, or someone. We caught up with Mickey and Yuki and promptly stared at the man, entranced by his presence. Neither Yuki nor Mickey seemed to recognize who this man was. Nonetheless, they remembered his face from somewhere. Mako, I wouldn't mind, we said. She grabbed her cheeks as if she was daydreaming. Wait, do you know that man? Mickey asked. Mako? Yuki asked. He's the leader of the Constellation. What is he doing in Foxtrot of all places? We asked herself. Mickey and Yuki quickly stared back at the man who was walking away from them at that point. The Ursa Maya? Both of them screamed. They quickly remembered the drawings from the textbook. He looked much younger in all of the portraits. It made sense though, since the books were printed many years ago. The Constellation. A group of high-caliber magi, each assigned a constellation, an organization found 4,000 years ago by a trio of mercenaries. Warriors, musicians, scholars, alchemists, artisans, and researchers with exceptional capabilities and skills. Respected and feared by many, they were an integral part of life in the old world. It is believed that the Constellation of the old world were all killed during the Great Catastrophe. I like this little design. Pretty little wing girl too. So many. If any of them survived, it hadn't been documented. The organization revival happened a mere 20 years after the fire rain. Only around half of the 52 seats under the stars have been reassigned. Such is their influence that they control an entire country within Uzu, and even a small area in Zua. Because of the code established since the beginning, the Constellation are exclusively Magi. Anti-Magi cannot join their ranks. All the members are equal in terms of their hierarchy, with the exception of Ursa Mare and Argo Navis, the former acting as a leader for the Constellation, and the latter of the Argonautai, a numerous Magi squad in charge of fulfilling the least important jobs. Even though their identities are far from secret, they prefer to keep a low profile. A strange thin aura irradiated from his armor. The ally used was far from common. Mickey and Yuki kept their eyes on the man until he disappeared into the shadows casted by the buildings of Foxtrot. The tower grounds were quite beautiful at that time of day. The garden was surrounding the main entrance of Foxtrot, were decorated with magical lamps that kept changing color. The strong cold winds of winter filled the garden. The group went inside the tower after identifying themselves and went to the top floor immediately. Mickey and Yuki noticed how some Terramagi they encountered along the way were surprised by Wii's presence. They also saw a bit of unusual activity from the guards around the tower. Is it normal? They seem to be preparing for something, Yuki said. Maybe it's a drill. I hope everything's okay. I don't want to think what kind of problem could cause such a military activity in a city like Foxtrot, Mickey said. Do you think it has something to do with Ursa Mare being in the city? Yuki asked. There was a short silence. They were all trying to guess what could be happening. Let's go, Hui suggested. Xiao was near the entrance of her office. She was talking with someone that appeared to be an assistant of hers. Just keep things civil. He'll stay in a guest room for now. If she comes, we'll be ready for her, Xiao said to the man. The assistant then took off, walking past Mickey, Yuki, and Hui. Oh, you're back, Xiao said. She noticed the book under Mickey's arms once they were close. I thought it would take much longer to find the book. Did it cause any trouble? Xiao asked. Good night, Xiao. We brought your frog, Mickey said, quite eager to return the book. Is everything okay? Everyone seems to be busy, Mickey questioned, a question that was completely ignored. Xiao and Hui kept staring at each other with a slightly serious expression on their face. It took around 10 seconds before anything happened. Hui grabbed her forehead in pain. Hui complained. Oh, it appears that you have neglected yourself. What have you been doing all of these years? I hope it wasn't spent looking for a husband, Xiao said. She made her way inside of her office, through a small pet entrance in the door. What was that? Yuki asked. He stared at Hui, who was grabbing her forehead. She knows me a little too well. I'm her student after all, Hui explained. You could say that it's our way of saying hello, she said with a half-hearted smile. If it's something between both of you, I can understand it. I do something similar with a friend of mine, Mickey said. The group moved inside the office and found Xiao sitting on the top of her desk. Mickey quickly made her way to Xiao, placing the book on the table right next to her. She didn't want to be held responsible if anything happened. Is that edible? It looks like some kind of honey. Yes, but it is flavorless. The butterflies are bringing it from the garden. It has some properties that cannot be found in our plane of existence. How accurate is it? that there is another dimension up here. Kind of. I would describe it as a fragment of my mind. That is why the portal closes when I go to sleep. Why are the butterflies leaving that substance here? Not by choice. I bait them by coating the edge of the bowl with a smell they love. I simply collect what falls from their legs. I don't need that much for my research. What do you use it for? Have you read Nepeta Cataria? Catnip? Let's just say it's a similar effect on foxes. I need some recreational time for myself. It also helps keep mosquitoes away. I wouldn't dare to judge people for what they do in their free time. Collecting drugs from a dreamlike world. Wow. Cabinet. What happened to the aquariums? Accident. Ah, what did you... Accident. I told you that was a bad idea. Bookcase. My special collection? These are dangerous books. I prefer to keep them locked inside this magical proof container. Dangerous? Their contents or the books themselves? Both. The bookcase will shred them to pieces in case someone besides me manages to open it. That's an unorthodox way to keep your books safe. Some things are better off locked away. Yuki, this tree reminds me of the designs on the back of the cards we used to play with the academy. I wonder if they're inspired by this place. Like, it must lead to the top of the tower. To the portal above? It allows easy access to the infinite garden. I made that place many years ago, but have not visited in a long time. I read in a book that you designed it. I can't imagine how skillful someone has to be to create a self-sustained dimension. I wouldn't say I designed it, more like dreamed it. By accident? I am pleased to say that its advent was not accidental, but a deliberate decision. Other than that, the creative process that it involved wasn't methodical. Snake. I love reptiles, but I'm not sure if I would enjoy having a snake this close at all times. I can tell he likes you, just don't tap on the glass. It's a snowtail snake. Its venom is not enough to kill an adult, but you would be bedridden for weeks. I definitely do not want to disturb him. It's your pet. It's beautiful. I usually take care of animals that have been injured. I return them back to nature once they have healed. Being an animal myself, I know how important it is to be free. Xiao placed her tiny paws on top of the book. Thank you for your excellent work. The sealing spell which prevented the frog from leaving its original book faded a long time ago. I was worried it would be impossible to find it at this point, Xiao said. After noticing their confused faces, Xiao decided to explain the situation. Right. 3 hours ago, a member of the Constellation arrived in the city. We're preparing ourselves just in case this person starts causing trouble, Xiao explained. Why would that be the case? Mickey asked. It appears that the Constellation has the intention to hunt down a man, a journalist who writes the most prestigious print work of Olam, the Monthly Insight, Xiao explained. Why would they do that? Mickey asked, quite concerned. There was an article in the latest issue in which he criticized this particular Constellation's questionable methods of action. While I have read it, I cannot confirm anything written in it is true or not, Xiao explained. Wouldn't that just prove that the man's point? I'm not sure what goes through the Constellation's head, but I do know there are some members who believe they are above the law. I have to admit that the line between what they can and cannot do is quite blurry, Xiao explained. That explains why Ursa Maya was in the city, Mickey said. It wasn't him, right? Zhao looked at Mickey, a bit amused. Mako is in Foxtrot? Zhao asked, while tilting her head. We sighed silently, in relief that Mako wasn't the one causing trouble. After all, stopping him would require an army or for her to intervene. So it isn't him. What's your plan exactly? Mickey asked. Wouldn't it be easier to keep that man safe, at least until the situation is resolved? The journalist is already inside the tower. He came to us looking for protection when he received a letter from a Parkeet earlier today, warning him about the Constellation's intention. If Mako is here, he's probably looking for that woman to try to calm her down. If I remember correctly, they're childhood friends, Xiao said. Mako has always been a man that follows the law. I'm really glad he is a current leader of the Constellation, we said. In general, everything has been much easier since he became the Ursa Mayor. Xiao jumped off the table and got closer to Mickey and Yuki. Don't worry about this whole situation, we'll take care of it. Everything when time comes. Don't worry about this whole situation, we'll take care of everything when the time comes, Xiao said. You two follow me. We prepared some tea for us, yes? Xiao didn't wait for Wei to respond and left the office through the pet entrance once more. There was no response from Wei. She simply nodded. It appeared she had no problem following her teacher's orders, even if she didn't work at the tower anymore. Yuki and Mickey waved to Wei, saying goodbye to her and thanking her silently. They followed Zhao a moment later. Mickey was curious about the whole situation but decided to wait for the outcome to ask about it more. Once they were outside the office, Mickey spoke. We met Wei by accident during our errand. She decided to keep us company the entire time. Deja Vu has been an apprentice since she was 5 years old. She is an excellent magus, argumentably the most capable anti-magus of the continent in her prime, Zhao explained as she led the way. She has a weakness though, children. She always wanted some of her own. So she sometimes saw her training as unnecessary, Zhao explained. Zhao took them both to the middle levels of the tower while they spoke. I think we kind of learned something like that, Yuki said. We haven't seen each other in years, but I keep track of her through the mental link. I'm kind of worried that her desire to make a family will lead her to do something stupid, Zhao said. Do you think that she would choose someone that wasn't good for her? Mickey asked. To her, Hui seemed like a person too emotionally driven. She was reminded how her attitude changed when Amber mentioned his son. I'm afraid so. In the end, it's her life. I don't want to intervene too much, Zhao said. After arriving at a particular floor, Zhao guided them in front of one of the dozen doors on that level. The door opened on its own without producing a sound. The room that they were assigned to was very normal looking. Every basic need was covered, and it was around the size of their apartments back at the academy. Since you brought my book, you will be allowed to take the final exam. You need to rest for that, Zhao said. Our room? Yuki asked. He raised an eyebrow as he said that. Yes, one room for both of you, Zhao said. Yuki looked inside the room to take a quick peek. There was only one bed. Yuki blushed lightly almost immediately. All the teams sleep like this? I mean, I know it isn't rare, but Mickey asked. Well, we have slept together before. When we went to my room to study and all that, Mickey said. She was blushing quite a bit. Not all teams, but it's recommended. At least when they are about to do regression. A deeper connection between the wanderer and the anchor is always good. A friendship isn't enough. Some skinship is required, Zhao explained. Quite counterproductive, don't you think? We always struggle to keep mostly opposite-sex teams from going against the rules, Xiao said, which caused Mickey and Yuki to become uncomfortable right away. The fox started to make her way towards where they came from. If you want to survive the scorched plains, you have to. All of your luggage is always inside the room. All of your luggage is already inside of the room. Sleep well, Xiao said. Her laughter felt out of place for some reason. Thank you, and good night, Xiao, Mickey said as she waved her hand to the fox. Yuki grabbed Mickey's hand and moved inside with her. There was an awkward silence as soon as they closed the door behind them. Birdhouse? Is that a birdhouse? Oh, every room has its own set of delivery birds. There's 2 of them. I wonder what their names are. There's even a hole to the wall on the back of the birdhouse, so they can leave the room whenever they want. They must be highly trained. Now that you mention it, I don't see a bird feeder. The bird restaurant must be in another part of the tower. That's super cute. Telescope. We should stargaze tonight. The night sky is so clear. Maybe we could go get dinner while we do it. It sounds romantic. It does. Let's... Blush. But we made it, Mickey said. She made her way towards the bed after letting go of Yuki's hand. I'm really happy how it turned out in the end, Yuki said. I would never have imagined that a frog would be involved in our first official job, Mickey said as she got rid of her shoes. The first of many, hopefully, Yuki said. Mickey nodded a few times. Let's take it easy for today, Mickey said with a smile on her face. The stars are aligning in your favor. That's a longer chapter today. It had been around 30 minutes. Oh god. It had been around 30 minutes since Mickey and Yuki and Hui left the Brenba residence. The drawers and utensils had stopped moving for good. Vin and Amber remained alert for good measure, even though it was clear that the danger was over. It finally stopped. I thought we would spend the entire night fighting flying dishes and picking up the pieces, Vin said. He sat down on the couch of the workshop. I think I should apologize for causing you so much trouble, Vin said. Amber was just as exhausted as Vin. He stood there in the middle of the workshop, surprised by Vin's attitude. Don't worry about it. I'm just happy it wasn't the frog and the firearms, or something like that. I would be glad if you bring some new tableware to replace the few that broke, Amber said in a half smile. He was carrying a canteen from which he took a sip. New tableware? No problem, said Vin. His attitude changed right away. He leaned over, looking a bit more serious. Let's say I believe you about the fact that the materials you took weren't used for weapons. Why did your business end up being like this? A strange fascination with weapons, Vin asked. Amber's grimace was quite obvious. He sat on his the chair that we used earlier. I might be an armorer, but at the heart I'm a technician, a mechanic. My biggest interest is small mechanisms with huge implications. My wife and I dreamed of developing not only weapons, but complex machines that could be used for many other things. We combined our intellect to get the job done, Amber said. Vin immediately noticed the pain in the man's voice. All the magic artifacts that you saw in the storage room were hers, as well as the rocks and dry herb collections. She was quite a charming woman, really. I never had the potential to use magic besides the basics. I focused myself on learning about weapons and their magical circuitry, so that's what I decided to do with my life, Amber said. He placed the canteen on the floor before grabbing a small magical rock that was lying there. Our son inherited her magical potential, and he learns quickly when I teach him. I hope he uses the knowledge and everything that he gathered throughout the years, Amber said, in a calm tone of voice. Vin listened closely to Amber. He felt a bit uncomfortable about the conversation he was having. A deep dive into the life of a man he had just met, after all. He stood up from the couch. Tell your son to visit the tower when he has the time and to look for me. Civilians are allowed inside during visiting hours. I'll give him a tour of the place. Maybe we can figure out some type of job he would want to do when he grows up," Vin said. "He's only a kid. He doesn't even know what he wants for breakfast," Amber said. "But I guess it wouldn't hurt. Do you want to meet him?" "Is he here?" Vin asked. "It's always good to meet them young." "Of course. He has been hiding in the second floor this entire time. He doesn't come out when there's too much noise, which usually happens when there are customers. I don't like to expose him to the kind of people that own these weapons. People can be weird and dangerous," Amber explained. "I bet you understand. I wouldn't want a flying dish to hit him square in the face, for example," Amber said with a smile. "We have an agreement. If weird people like you show up, he has to hide. If he hears that I'm getting mugged, he's supposed to go get help by leaving through the secret door on the roof. Now that I think about it, it's probably not the best plan, but better me than him, I suppose," Amber explained. "That's probably for the best. You never know," Vin said. "Wait here. I'll bring him," said Amber before going upstairs. A few minutes later, Amber went downstairs along with a very nervous-looking kid. "This is Lua," Amber said as he placed his hand on Lua's back. Lua scanned Vin from head to toe. "I just told him that you work at the Foxtrot Tower, and he seems to be interested," Amber said. Who turned to Lua and spoke once more. "This is Uncle Vin," Amber said. Lua extended his hand towards Vin. The large man got on his knee and accepted one handshake. "You can drop the uncle now," Vin said to Amber. Vin had never been good with children. However, when he was young, he hated when adults would belittle him whenever they spoke to him. That's why he always tried to treat them as if they were adults themselves. "Your father told me that you have magical capabilities." Blushy. "It's Mr. Marbles. My mum made him for me when I was a baby." "Why is he up there?" "He's going through I'm too old for plushies phase." "I am." "Listen, you are too old for something only when you stop enjoying it." "I kinda miss sleeping with him." "I'll get it down tonight." Portrait. "That's the best portrait that anyone has ever drawn of me. I wouldn't throw it away even if the artist wanted me to. I drew that 3 years ago. I should make a new one. You look like a crazy gunman." "That's probably accurate." Oh no. The boy thought for a moment. He couldn't take his eyes off Vin's uniform. "I helped with a magic circuit, a hidden door. We don't use that very much anymore though." "Does that count?" Lua said. "The door under the bridge?" Vin asked, slightly taken aback. "That's quite impressive. An enchantment like that isn't easy. You got some talent," Vin said. "I'm the leader of a tactical operations at Foxtrot Tower. I'm in charge of keeping everyone safe there and to lead the Terra Magi into their expeditions. Some years ago I worked as a teacher, but now I'm dedicated to discovering new talents and taking care of the tower's logistics and security when I'm not doing my main job," Vin explained. "Do you have any interest or anything you're passionate about?" Vin asked. Lua began to move his tail as if he liked something that was being asked. "I like to play with rocks. It's fun to see what happens when you combine them. I don't like it when they break though. Dad breaks them all the time, and I can't use them after that. I like animals, but I have never had real pets. My dad's weapons are interesting, but I'm not allowed to touch them. I like to write about everything I find. I like girls, oats with walnuts," said Lua without stopping even once. Vin was surprised that Lua would just open himself up like that. "You're very honest. I'm not quite knowledgeable in the magical rock department, but I always carry this with me, in case I need to sharpen my knife," Vin said. Vin took a small pink rock out of his pocket. It was around 5 centimeters in diameter. The strange color of the rock, along with how it changed with the light, showed that it wasn't a common rock at all. Vin gave the rock to Lua after throwing it up in the air and catching it with one hand. It's a rock from the bottom of the orifice sea to the east of Uzu. It isn't dangerous on its own, but if you rub anything against it, it will get hot without creating fire, Vin explained. Oh, it's small, and it's very slightly warm, Lua said as he examined his new possession. I'll put it next to my other pink rocks, Lua said before staring at his father, asking for approval. Amber sighed. You can keep it. Thank you, Uncle Vin, Lua said to the man. I promise I'll keep it safe. Vin just smiled at the boy before patting him on the head. They all heard knocking on the main entrance door, causing Amber to frown a bit. A visitor this late? Amber said as he began making his way towards the kitchen a moment later. Lua and Vin looked at each other for a second before following Amber at their own pace. They kept talking as they made their way there. I knew you would still be here, Hui said the moment that Vin and Lua walked into the kitchen. Amber and Hui had already greeted each other at that point. Her eyes went from Vin directly to Lua. She quickly approached the boy and got on her knees. You're so adorable, Hui said out loud. She hugged the boy right away, getting carried away by the moment. Lua was surprised by the sudden display of affection from the woman he had just met, getting flustered instantly. Good night, lady, Lua said. He was kind of uncomfortable with what had happened since he didn't know if he should return the hug or not. Let him go, you idiot, Vin said. That's just a weird thing to do. We let go of the kid almost immediately upon hearing Hui's words. I'm sorry, I apologize, Hui said. Please forgive me. Hui was quite embarrassed of her way of acting. Lewis stared at the woman. He hadn't interacted with many adult women in his life, so this was rather unusual for him. What makes your name? Hui asked, looking much happier because of her encounter with the boy. I'm Lua. I like rocks. Were you the woman that was screaming? Lua asked. I don't know what happened earlier, but I did hear your voice. I hope Dad didn't do something that scared you. Hui blushed a bit more. Yeah, that was me, Hui said as she remembered her screams from earlier. No, your father didn't do anything. It's a bit hard to explain, Hui said, trying to elaborate on the situation. I'm Hui. I don't know a lot about rocks, but could you show me? I have a lot of them upstairs in the bathroom and everywhere, Lua said before continuing. There isn't much that I can show you. You have to pay attention to them and find out what they do. Listen to them and encourage them. Dinner. What are you having for dinner? Potato stew with vegetables. Lua's favorite. I miss homemade food. I usually just eat at the tower's cafeteria. Oh, I used to eat there as well. You know, when I worked at the tower, their pear pie was out of this world. Anyone in Foxtrot can eat at the tower's cafeteria. I thought that was common knowledge. I'd rather not run into someone I knew back then. I made a lot of people angry, you know? I'll bring you one, if you pay for it. Uncle Vin, you're the best. I'm having second thoughts already. Don't call me Uncle Vin. Don't call me Uncle Vin, man. I don't see any more sparkles. Out there. Rocks. All of those rocks are so pretty. I was wondering why there were so many of them scattered around. Dad said that there were too many rocks in my bedroom, so a lot of them decided to move to the rest of the house. They were happier now. It wasn't the solution I had in mind, but at least now that you can walk around in his bedroom without puncturing your foot on a rock, it's like Lego. I wonder how long though. How long can you stay walking around his room before he fills it up again? We stared at the rock that Lua had around his neck, surprised by the boy's response. Encourage them? Are they listening? We asked. If you look at them closely, you can tell what they want. They reflect light in funny ways. It's hard to notice, and Louis said. He took a small white rock from his pocket and started rubbing it. It began to shine with a very faint light. They also like to shine. We examined the rock. It reminds me of the first years of training. My teacher had a small collection. That's when I first saw magical rocks, we said, her eyes lost on the light production by the rock. She was feeling rather nostalgic about it. Vin stared at the pair for a moment before he spoke to Amber. Are you both going to join us for dinner? Amber asked. He got busy gathering plates and heated up dinner. Amber hit 2 rocks together and threw them close to a pile of stacked rocks. They caught fire a moment later. The cauldron was placed on top of the stove. I suppose we could, Vin said. His shift was already over, so there was no point returning right away. Do you like it? Lua asked. If you do, I can give it to you. It could keep you company at night. You have to promise to take care of it, or it'll get sad and lose its shine. White stones like to be with pretty girls. It would be really happy with you, I think. Would you really give it to me? I'd really like that, an overjoyed Wee said. You have to put it close to a window, and it'll be really happy. It doesn't matter if it's day or night, Lua said. I know the perfect place for it then, Hui said with a smile. Your son really knows how to talk to women. He'll get a girlfriend right away, Vin said to Amber as he crossed his arms listening to the conversation from the other side of the room. He got this from his father, of course. He's far too young to understand all the power that he has yet. He'll be the most handsome rock whisperer, Amber said while he stirred the contents of the cauldron. Vin simply smiled. After a few minutes, the stew began to boil. All right, it's ready. We noticed that Amber had started serving dinner. I really don't want to trouble you both, we said. It's nothing. We rarely get visitors. We're more than happy to have you for dinner, Amber said. We stood up. She looked at Lua and showed him how she placed the tiny rock inside of her pockets. Lua, be careful with that woman. She'll snatch you up if you lower your guard, Vin said in a jokingly seriously manner. I would never, we said loudly. Lua wasn't really that surprised by the response from Hui. She doesn't look like a bad person, Lua said, who quickly walked up to his designated chair. Hui frowned at Vin and got closer to the table. Amber sat on his chair across from Lua. Thank you for the invitation. If we could do anything for you, just let us know. We really appreciate your help with the book earlier, we said. Besides new tableware, that's a given, Vin said. He sat down at the table, making sure to sit as far away as he could from Hui. Don't worry. It was a very interesting experience. I would really appreciate it if you could help me with Lua. He's still too young, but I suppose that it's never too early to start to look for career prospects. I don't have the contacts to get him approved by the Academy, Amber said. I know Magi are recruited based mostly because of their talents, but there are a few filters in the end. Maybe if we could get some advice on and help getting him started, Amber said. We sat down at the table while she listened to Amber speak. Sadly, I don't work at Foxtrot Tower anymore, but Zhao Zhen is my friend. I could ask for a favor from her, and to take a look at Lua, we said. He might be small, but he learns quickly, Amber said. Lua just nodded quickly while he ate. Lua spoke up. He looked at his father as if asking for permission to speak. Amber just nodded with his eyes closed. I want to invent things, useful things, that can help people that don't know a lot about magic, like Dad. I don't know how to though, Lua said. I have a lot to read and I don't understand most of the books in the attic, but I can learn. An inventor that does it for the well-being of the common folk. We need more like those, Vin said, looking at Lua while taking a few bites of his plate. We never liked how Vin looked at other people. She always thought that his intentions were all over the place. She tried her best to ignore them. Continue helping your dad, and I'll see what we can do. It's a good start to get people at the tower to recognize you. Once you're of age, it'll be much easier to get you into the academy, Vin said. Amber noticed a small glimpse of sadness on Hui's expression, as if she had given up on trying to rebut anything that Vin said. Is something wrong, Hui? Amber asked. Hui forced a smile, which only lasted a few seconds. No, it's just that it has been a long day, Hui said, who remained silent for the rest of the dinner. As everyone finished their dishes, Hui remembered reasons why she came back to Amber's house in the first place. She bit her lip, not knowing how to exactly inform Vin about it. After a moment, she decided to be blunt about it. Vin, 2 Constellation arrived at Foxtrot, I think, Hui said, who was immediately interrupted by Vin, who quickly got up from his chair, and the look on his face changed suddenly. Why didn't you tell me earlier? Vin shouted. Hui was startled by Vin's scream. I already said that I don't work for the tower anymore. It isn't my responsibility, Hui said at a much different tone from her usual voice, almost out of character. It doesn't matter. Thank you, Vin said, quickly exiting through the door of the kitchen, leaving what little was left of his dinner. There was an awkward silence as soon as the door closed. Hui's broken voice filled the room after a second. I forgot. I'm sorry, Hui said. Tears started rolling down her cheeks. Why are you like this? Hui said between sobs. It sounds important, Amber said. He wasn't sure how to feel about it. Lua could pick up the dishes. Lua, could you pick up the dishes? Amber asked. Lua got off his chair and tried to be quick about it. You aren't at fault here, Lua. As you mentioned, it wasn't your responsibility, Amber said. He offered a handkerchief to the woman, which she accepted right away. In my mind, it wasn't that important. That's probably why I forgot. Zhao would intervene right away if things got out of control, Hui said. She calmed down pretty quickly, watching Lua pick up the dishes and getting them into a pile on the corner of the kitchen was quite therapeutic for her. Hui wiped her tears off her cheeks and Amber's handkerchief. I hope I'm not asking too much, but could I sleep here? My house is pretty far away, Hui asked. She had already gathered herself up a bit. It had been quite some time since she had interacted with her ex-husband. She had a much easier time dealing with her emotions related to Vin. Of course, you can sleep in my room. I'll sleep on the couch tonight. Just allow us to clean up the mess in our rooms, Amber said. He was quite nervous about the condition of the house in general. It wasn't common for them to receive visitors. Is that okay? Hui nodded. I don't want to cause any trouble. I can sleep on the couch, Hui said, with a faint smile. Her eyes were slightly puffy from crying. I must insist that couch isn't appropriate for a lady, Amber said. Just leave it to us. We'll make you feel comfortable. I'll go get my bedroom ready. Lua, don't let her sleep on the couch, Amber said before leaving the kitchen. Oh, she looks so pretty. Even though she looks sad, she also looks so pretty. Oh. Lua gave his father a hand salute. You don't want the couch. It's horrible. Let my dad sleep on it. It's his punishment for not fixing it. Lua said he was way too sincere for his own good. Whenever Lua talked to Hui, she felt happy inside. It was strange. It was a strange, warm, fuzzy feeling. I always wanted to have children like you. But I think it's too late for me, Hui said. She sighed silently, looking at Lua with the same sad expression. But that's the kind of thing the old ladies at the bazaar would say, Lua said. You aren't an old lady. I wish that was the case, but I'm much older than I look. When you use magic, your aging slows down, which worked out pretty well for me. The moment you stop practicing magic, you start to age like normal, and I've been very consistent about that as of recently, Hui said. Why would you stop using magic? Lua asked. He was genuinely confused about why someone would simply stop using their magical potential. Do you not like it anymore? Did you get bored? Lua asked. I retired some years ago. I live a very boring life, just watching the days go by. There's no reason for me to use magic anymore. I was trained to fight, so that's where most of my magical skills are, we explained. Maybe we could do things together, like growing a garden or collecting magical rocks. Or maybe fireworks at night? Lewis said, concerned about Wee's well-being. Those are all very good ideas. Maybe I just lack motivation. A reason to wake up every morning, we said. Both of them remained silent for a moment. Thank you for listening to me, we said after noticing Lua's intense stare. She finally smiled, which caused an immediate reaction from Lua. If you ever feel like doing anything, just tell me. I'll figure out how to make fireworks, Lua said. Let's not tell Dad about this though. He hates fun stuff. Sounds like a date, we said. A date with fireworks. Lua's been added. Thank you everybody for joining me for this chapter of the Scorchfarer. I hope you guys enjoyed and are looking forward to the next one. It will be uploaded next week, so look forward to that. If you did enjoy and you are enjoying the series, be sure to leave a like down below. If you have missed any of the chapters so far, I've got a playlist, so just check out the channel. Just be sure to like and subscribe down below to be notified of when I go live on YouTube as well as when I upload. But until next time, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye guys!